After I've shared my story with you, I'm going to ask you this question. Do you think an obstacle is your friend or a foe? So listen to this. Let me tell you how I manifested a new job. You know, I've always talked about how I lost my job or how I was fired from my job. Now, the reason why I talk about that thing is because it was at a very, very pivotal moment in my life. You know, nothing seemed to be working, and then that job was taken away from me. And so what then happened afterwards? I'll tell you a series of things that happened that just showed me that life will always look after you if you trust it to do so. So now the first thing that happened was months after I had left this job. I was home, you know, waiting to see what was going to come out of what I needed to do next. And one of the days I was thinking, look, I need to pay for, remember the course I talked about? The conference that I attended, and then there was a course that I needed to pay $2,500 for. I didn't have money for it. Let me tell you what happened. After I borrowed money to pay for the first two installments, because they gave me 6 installments to pay that money in. After paying for the first two, something then happened. I was lying down on my bed. I do a lot of lying down on my bed, I used to do a lot of lying down on my bed. And I was thinking, where is my next money going to come from? I went on Facebook and I noticed a friend who, I can't even really call her a friend, but somebody that I had worked with in the past. And I'm talking maybe 10 years ago. She sent me a message, and the message just said, "Are you still a fixer?" And immediately I responded saying yes. So she said, "Send me your email address. I want to send you something." So I sent her my email address, and immediately she sent me an email introducing me to someone who wanted to come and do a production here in Nigeria. I work in the television space. And so people called me a fixer because I can sort out any problem. I don't know everybody, but I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. And so people always call me when they have issues in the television space, especially here in Nigeria. So that was how I got this job with this company that I earned a lot of dollars from. Now, if I still had that job that I was doing, one, I wouldn't have been able to get this job. I wouldn't have been able to do this job or execute this job because I would have been sucked in where I was. And the money that I got, the salary that they used to pay me then, I made almost, in this particular role, in this particular job that I got, I must have made about 3 times the money, spread over 6 months if I had worked over 6 months. That's how good it was. Now, this started to show me that, are you sure that there isn't a God somewhere who is listening to us every day and saying, don't worry, I've got you? Now, for some reason in my life, and I guess it's unconscious competence, I've always just thought to myself that whenever I need help, God will come through for me. I don't know why. Maybe my mom said it enough, or I saw some people have that kind of faith. I don't know how I had that kind of faith. I was the kind of person that I would stand in front of the beach and just speak to the water and say, I want my life to be this peaceful. And maybe there's something I'm going through at that moment. All of a sudden, an answer comes and then life just changes for me. I was that kind of person. So when this happened, I was just like, okay, maybe there's some glimmer of hope. But this is not where it ended. I'll tell you what happened. So I started to do courses, and like I said, I really delved into a whole lot of personal development. I went as far as learning how to trade. I was doing so many different new things that caught my attention that I now had the time to do that job didn't give me the permission to do, because I was so swamped in that role. I didn't have time for my family. I didn't have time for myself. I couldn't give myself any of these things. So now I'm jobless, Abby. So I now have time for all these new things. And so once again, I attended another conference that there were like 10 or 12 different speakers from different parts of the world. And they were all pitching different things. That was talking about wealth creation, talking about, real estate, talking about trading, different things. And I signed up for almost 6 different programs on that same day in that same program. And so one of it was a wealth creation program, and it was with a lady called, her name will come back to me. And I started the course. Now in this course, it stated in one of the classes, she said, write down what you want. Write down the things that you really want to, or the amount you really want to earn. Now, this is somebody that does not have work, right? I'm still living off on some of the things that I've been able to do. But because of my resilience and my faith, let me call it that, and my trust in God, I wrote it down. I brought out a sheet of paper and wrote that. She said, throw everything in it. If you want to invest money, you want to buy property, you want to travel, throw everything in. So I said, okay. I mean, what's the worst that will happen? We're going to be we're practicing, Abi. Let me practice. And that's why I always tell people that when you're doing courses, when they ask you to do anything, do it. They know exactly what they're talking about because success leaves clues. And if you didn't trust them enough, why did you pay for their course? So let me move on with my story. So I brought out my notebook. I was writing everything I learned. I wrote, and then I started to teach other people. So I wrote down everything. So let's say, for example, I came up with 1.5 million naira. So I wrote everything out, feeling really cool. Left it, went to sleep, woke up the following morning. No, before I slept, I looked at it and I said, you know what? I'm going to round it up. And so I now decided I'm going to increase it. If I can ask for 1.5 million naira, I can ask for 2. So I bumped it up to 2 million naira. And I went to bed, sleeping, feeling excited. The following morning, and I said, but hold up. If they say that God is the owner of the universe, that means I can ask for anything. So rather than asking for 2, I will double it to 4. This is me, myself, and I doubled it to 4. And I'm just using a figure, right? So, you will not believe what happened after. I'll tell you. I think about 3 days after, I get a call from somebody that I'd never met before. I knew him. He's a South African. I knew of him, but I'd never met him before. And he calls me and says to me, oh, somebody referred you to me. We're looking to fill up a position in this company as for head of production. I'm like, really? Okay. All right. So he said I should come in for a meeting. I said, well, unfortunately, I'm studying at the moment for a couple of days. I'll come in the following week. So I remember that night I said this thing to my husband. My husband said, you have not had work for over a year. Somebody is telling you to come in. You are telling him you are going for a conference. I said, yes, the conference is more important to me. So eventually I went to meet him and we sat down and we were talking about the job. He told me what my role was going to be. So he then asked me, how much do you want to earn? How much do you think I said? I already written 4 million naira now. So I changed it to dollars. I think it was like $8,000 at the time. And so I said, I want to earn $8,000. He looked at me and said, that's interesting. How come? I said, I knew exactly what I wanted before coming here. So he smiled and I left it at that. So later I then said to him, how much do you guys have for this role? And he told me, I think he said, maybe if I said 4 million, he removed 1 million naira and said 3 million naira. I said, okay, not too bad, Now, let me now tell you something. I wrote a check to myself. As I did that whole sheet of paper, I wrote a check to myself and I wrote by December 27th that year, I would earn 3 million naira. I actually wrote a check. And I tore out the check and I put it on my vision board. And so I looked at that check every day. I don't know if I've not thrown it away now because I've achieved that. So I put 3 million naira and I left it there. So when I went to the guy and the guy said, and I asked him, how much do you guys have, or are you thinking about paying the person for this role? The guy said the exact amount of money that I put on that check. Now, coincidental, isn't it? Or some people will say, it's luck, or it's this. Well, everything was piecing together for me. Now, this started as an obstacle, started as a challenge. And now what is it seeming like? Is it seeming like a friend or foe? I'm going to leave you to decide. And then when I end, I will now ask you that question again. So eventually, I remember seeing the horrific look on my husband's face when I told him how much I asked to earn. And he said to me, in COVID 2020, people are laying people off, firing people. You are asking for this amount of money. Nobody is going to pay you this amount of money. I remember it so clearly. And I smiled. I said, well, if they don't pay me, then that means this is not my job. Now, once again, don't ask me where I got this liver from, but I actually had this liver. And so I said, if they don't pay me this money, then it's not my job. So I didn't hear anything from them for a couple of days. And he looked at me, he said, you see, you have chased them away with your money. I told you nobody will pay you this amount of money. I said, I'm not. In fact, he was more worried than me that did not have a job. And I just kept on saying to him, don't worry, my job is going to come and they're going to pay me exactly what I've asked for. Not too long after that, they called me in again and said, the boss wants to talk to me. I said, okay, I'll listen. I'll be available for the meeting. I had the meeting. He smiled and said, oh, I hear you're asking for this, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, Chairman, you're only giving me exactly what I think, you're not even paying me my worth, because I don't think anybody can pay me my worth. Even with the work that I do, I tell my clients that my payment is the smile that I will see on your face at the end of the day. Because nobody can pay, for me, nobody can pay me the value that I bring onto the table. But you will pay, what you are doing is giving me an incentive to get up every morning and get out of my house to come to your place of work. And at the end of the day, go home, right? And so when I said that to him, he smiled and we left that alone. And so that's how I started that job. Let me put it out there. And I've been in that place for about 3 years now, right? Why do I share this story? It started off as an adversity. It started off as an obstacle and a challenge in my life. But how did it end? Remember, I say that your challenges are a stepping stone to your greatness. And my organization is called Owning My Greatness. And so in every area of my life, that's all I want to do, own my greatness. And so you sit down and ask yourself, do you really want to embrace obstacles as your friend? Do you want to embrace obstacles as your foe? Both choices are yours. I embrace obstacles as my friends because I know at the end of it, I'm going to come out better, stronger, bigger, more resilient, more intuitive, and more powerful. I leave you with these thoughts today. Think about it and let me know what you think about and how you then decide to embrace the challenges that you're facing today. Love and light. My name is Adeola Kingsley James.